Hello everyone, welcome to Send the Light podcast. I'm Tabea, I'm here with Diana, and we'll be interviewing Vici and Edith Kreker. They live in Thompson. They are fostering 2 children right now. And yeah, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, Edith and Vici.
Yeah, hi, my name is Edith. I'm 28 years old. I grew up in a Christian home in Germany, and we moved to Canada in 2010. And I got saved and baptized in 2014, I believe. And yeah, now I am in Thompson fostering.
My name is Victoria. I am 23 years old. And like Edith, I grew up in the same home. And I got to know Jesus as my personal savior when I was 16. And then when I was 17, I was baptized and joined the church. And I moved to Thompson about 2 months after Edith did.
Okay, thank you. How did you feel the call moving to the north? Like, you know, you lived here in Winkler with us. I know, Edith, you were in Mexico actually teaching there also as mission work. What convinced you guys to move to the north? How did you feel that calling?
Okay, so after my time in Mexico, I thought I was done with mission. I thought I did my part. But I worked for 2 years, and one church service, or a members meeting actually, was mentioned in the front that they were looking for a teacher up in Thompson. And somehow at that moment, I knew that God was calling me to come to Thompson. And I came home and I looked at my mom and I talked to mom and said, Mom, I think, God wants me to go to Thompson to teach. And she just looks at me and says, I knew that right away when the preacher said it at the front. So for me, it was a clear sign, basically. And yeah, I moved to Thompson within a month of that happening, actually. So it was very fast for me.
Yeah, for me, it was a little bit different. When I joined the church, I always, you hear of missionaries. And for me personally, it was always, I don't think I would do it long term. I would consider going, for a trip here or a trip there, visit or something. But I never really thought of myself as going there long term. And then I was up visiting Edith, probably like a few weeks after she moved there. And we were sitting at the dinner table and there was a few ladies there too. And one of them, as a joke, kind of said, "Oh, Vici, when are you coming to Thompson? We still need teachers." At that point, they had 3 teachers, but they still needed 1 more to do high school. So I went home. And at that time, I was actually teaching in another private school, doing exactly the same grades there. And I didn't really think about it. But then when I got home, it started bothering me a little bit, the thought. So I was going to pray about it. And I think after a few days or weeks, I got the assurance that this was what God wanted me to do. So I went up to my mom and I talked to her, and my experience was a little bit different talking to my mom. When I went up to her and told her that I wanted to move to Thompson for teaching, she kind of looked at me and she's like, "No, you're not going. You're too young." Even though looking at it, I was the same age as Edith when she moved to Mexico, which is way further. But she just said, "No, you're not doing it." And I looked at her and I said, "Well, Mom, we have to pray about this." And she agreed she would pray with me. So on that week, I think on a Thursday or something, she said, "Vici, let's go for coffee." So we did go, and I was really nervous. I thought here's going to come the no, that I shouldn't go. And she looked at me and she said, "Vici, I think you should go. I have the peace about it, and I think this is the right calling." So yeah, after that, it went quite quick too. I think for me, it was probably within 2 months I was in Thompson.
Wow, that's amazing. It's funny because to Edith, she said right away, I knew you were going to go. And Vici, no, moms sometimes have a feeling, but when you pray about it and it's actually God's will, then even our moms will, come to the conclusion that that's the right thing to do.
So you both went up there with the intentions of teaching first. I know for you, Edith, right? You were teaching. What grades were you teaching? And what kind of did your guys' daily life look like?
I was teaching grade 3 and 4. So there's a little private school. It's kind of homeschool based, so the kids have their own books and you're teaching them. I did that for a year.
Yeah, for me, I did grade 3, high school the first year, and then the second year I did grade 3 and 4. And I'll just kind of add on to that. Basically, we do homeschooling, but outside of that, we also do fun extra courses, which they don't get credits or anything for it, but it's like music. We did singing with them, practicing for concerts or programs, like Christmas programs. And then we also did gym, which was probably the favorite of everyone. And then even other little, outings with the kids here and there.
So it's like a homeschool curriculum, right? That they have their books for, and then there's also, I think, teacher editions, right? Of examples and just explanations of how you can teach that curriculum to the class, and then you just help them along in their books as they go, kind of, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah. So then, Edith, I think after 1 year of teaching, right? Was it 1 year?
Well, like the thoughts started like basically when I moved up there a couple of weeks after, but
So you thought about fostering pretty much right when you moved there already?
yeah, basically. So I saw how my friend in Thompson, she was actually fostering at that time already, the impact she had on her kids. And I don't know, just one day we were sitting at school and her sister actually was telling me that the agency kept calling them that they have more kids that need homes and if they could take more kids in. And I think that kind of sparked the thought in my mind. And then from there, I talked to my mom a little bit. I just like kind of brought it up a little bit. Said, "Mom, what would you think if I would foster?" And she just said, "Let's pray about it." So we did pray about it. And my prayer was always that everybody in my family is 100% for it. And so after a couple of weeks of praying with my mom, I kind of brought it up to my whole family. And immediately everybody was 100% for it, or would say they would support me. So that was kind of the sign for me, or not the sign. That was when I knew that I should start fostering. I didn't start fostering right away. I was still in school, so I wanted to finish that first. And then I think right in January, I started my paperwork for the agency. So I went in to see the social worker and had lots of questions. So like you can choose the gender, the age. You can say if you want to do like sick kids or kids that have like behavioral issues or anything like that. So there's a big variety you can pick from. So for myself, I just said I wanted kids under 3. And so then they basically said they have kids available. So I went home, I had paperwork and lots of paperwork, like history. I had to go back to my parents and how I was raised and like social life and religion. So there's lots of paperwork to fill out. I had to get a medical done, and I did a criminal record check and a child abuse check. And I think then in May, I went back in to see them again, and they actually, said 2 names that I could have, or 2 girls that I could have. And I told them I wasn't quite ready for it yet because the school was still going. So after school ended, I called them and I said, okay, I'm done school now. I can start fostering now. And basically within a week, I had one of my kids. They called me a week before to say the other one went back to their family. So then on June 28th, I believe it was, I got my first.
So that went really quickly. You pretty much finished school in June, and like a week later, you got the kids already.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you wanted kids under 3. That was one of your like criterias. Why did you want kids under 3?
When they're still young, you can still shape them a little bit more. Once they get older, they have their like own mind and they kind of have something set in there.
True. It's easier for them to adjust to new homes and like I think adjusting is easier for them when they're still young, and also like building that bond between, like the caregiver. So you explained the foster system already. So then when you applied and you got all the paperwork, then they asked you if you wanted 2 girls, but you said no. You weren't ready yet. And then a week after, they gave you just 1 girl, right? Yeah. After when you were done with school. Yeah, well, they told me that they had 2 girls before already, but like a week before they called me to say that one of the girls went back too. Okay. So then after 1 week of finishing school, you had 1 girl, but now you have 2 foster children, right? Right,
I do. So after like that first month, which was in the end really good that I only had 1 child at the beginning because you can really bond with that child because you have that one-on-one time. And then in August, they actually called me. It was a Friday morning, I believe it was, and they actually emailed me and said, they have a little boy, he needs a home, if I would be able to take him in. And I thought, because we had a group actually visiting from down south, so it was kind of busy. So I thought they would bring him on Monday or Tuesday. And then she emailed, well, can I bring him today already, So, I said, yes, I prayed with Vicky and we talked with Vicky. And we wanted 2 kids originally anyway, so he came in the evening already. And he was 1 year and 3 months when he came.
Were there any shockers when you got the children? Like, was it kind of as you expected, or were there some challenges at the start that you experienced?
Like with my girl, with Vera, not so much, but with my little boy, like Ashton, it was quite a few challenges.
And just to quickly mention, we've changed the names of the kids, right? We talked about this before we started the podcast, just for confidentiality reasons. We're just using different names for the kids.
I want to add, actually, when Vera came in the door, when the social worker brought her, she sat down on the floor, and I thought it was so cute. I honestly, I don't know what I was expecting. I was asked this a few times already, like, what did you expect of the kids, and like, how was it? And honestly, I don't know what I was expecting, but she came in, and how old was she? She was 1.5 years old. And she walked in, she sat down, she took off her shoes, and she put them in the corner and walked around and looked at the house, and she was not a little bit like shy or scared, or even when the social worker left, she was fine. And like even the next few days, all she would do, like anything you would ask her would always be yes. Are you hungry? Yes. Do you want to sleep? Yes. Do you want anything? Yes. Always yes. It was cute. But then actually what I noticed with her is when we were eating, we would put food in her plate, and she would hold her plate with one hand, her cup with the other hand, and then yet hold her fork. And if we wanted like even to refill her cup, she would scream if we would try to take something away. So not sure if maybe at the home she was at before, like a group home, that, I don't know, maybe the other kids took her food away or something, but
because there's lots of kids in that group home, right?
Yeah, it very much shocked me too when I saw that. I'm like, poor kid, if this was something she had to live through.
But that's so sweet of the story that you say, that she came in, she put her shoes in a little corner and, like just explored right away. It kind of shows that even though that she was young, even though she was 1.5 years old, that she felt comfortable right away. She, for them, I think it's like, even though they're young, they already know that joy in their heart to be in a home, and that probably feels good for them, So I think it's amazing for the kids to, feel what it's like to be in a home. So,
and they probably have that longing as well. Like in a group home, the kids don't get each kid doesn't get that much attention because there's so many of them that all need care, right? And here, it's more attention that one child gets. And what does your daily life look like with the children?
And it's pretty straightforward. It's just, do your chores and the kids go play. I mean, they're so close in age, so they fight a lot. And I mean, I think it's just kids, in their age. And sometimes you have to go see Ashton's mum or his sisters in town. But other than that, it's just, daily life things, go play or...
So you live right in the city of Thompson, right?
Right.
When you guys weren't fostering yet, you lived in a mission home, and you were hosting groups on weekends that would come from here, from Winkler, to do mission work for the weekends. But then when you started fostering, I think you mentioned that you moved, right?
Right, yeah. So at the beginning, we still lived in a mission house for a couple of months with Vera and Ashton, actually. And then we moved into a house, and now recently, last year in November, I believe, we moved again. So we've moved 2 times since we've had the kids, but now we're renting from somebody in our church.
And you're home with the kids 24/7 pretty much,
Pretty
right?
much, yeah.
And Vicky, you said you taught for 2 years, and but now you work somewhere else, right? Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, so I stopped working end of last school year, and I thought I needed a break. I've been doing teaching for about 4 or 5 years, so I just wanted a break. I wanted to try something different, and so I started working at a little airport. I was a receptionist for an aviation company, and it was good the first few weeks, but I noticed after like a few months it was not quite my thing. I'm not an office person. I don't like to sit and feel like I'm not doing anything or making a difference, whatever. So I think after half a year of working, I kind of started looking for jobs, and it was kind of my prayer that if I get an interview and I get the position, then that's what God wants of me. So I looked around and I saw this position. I saw lots of good positions, but they were close, like similar jobs, like office or somewhere receptionist, and I was like, oh well, I'm doing that now, right? So yeah, I was looking into this EA position, and I think I applied the one evening. I forget what day of the week it is, but the next day in the morning, they called me, do you want an interview? So I said, sure. Then the day following, I had the interview, and I went for my interview at, I think, 9 a.m., and I came there, we did the questions, and so I asked her at the end, I'm like, well, when can I hear an answer? Like, when are you going to call me about if I get this position or not? And she looks at me, she's like, well, we're quite convinced we will hire you. So I'm I'm thinking quite soon. And I thought, maybe, a day or 2 or 3 days, that's quite soon. Well, their soon was half an hour after I left.
Oh,
They
no
called
way.
me. Yeah, and I think it was like a Tuesday or something. And on that Thursday, I started already because my other job was really good with letting me go. They didn't really need me. So literally, it was all within like a few days that I was applied, interviewed, hired, and started.
And that's really nice because hiring you for the school there, they probably saw that you actually care about children, that you care about working in the schools. Because I feel like lots of people probably move to the north for money reasons and stuff. So it was easy for them probably to hire you right away because you actually care about the job and you wanted to work with children.
And that's almost another mission opportunity as well, right? Being a light in those schools, because it's a completely different environment there. And for you to work with those kids, they're going to feel and see how different you are and feel God's love through that as well.
Yeah. Because you have done EA work here in Winkler too, right? And now also there, like, do you see a big difference with the cultures, like working with Indigenous kids and the kids here in Winkler?
Yeah, well, I did my practicum here, and then otherwise I just worked in private schools. And maybe it's something about private schools being a little bit more stricter that I came in there a little bit, or very baffled. It was very shocking to me, like the way the kids are, the way they treat the teachers, and the way they treat each others, the way they talk to me and stuff. And for example, this one kid, he has a character and a half, and he'll come up to you, and they always told me at the beginning, don't let him know you're there for him. And I tried not, but even to other EAs, he would come up to them and get real close and say, I'm going to get you fired.
Oh.
And like things like that. You just notice these kids, they have no respect whatsoever, and it's different. The kids here, they get to do whatever they want.
They also get raised differently, right, up there, and yeah, so that's interesting. Switching back to Edith about your daily life, can you share some happy moments you've had with the kids, or some sacrifices that you've had to make now that you're fostering?
Yeah, for sure. So happy moments are just moments where you see the kids smile, or their sparkle in their eyes, or when they sing their little Christmas poems or the Christmas songs, their bedtime prayers. When they're in their happy moments, right? Or they play together very nicely, which really doesn't happen very often. But if that happens, that's my happy moments with the kids.
Yeah, something to add to what Edith just said. What I noticed is last time when Vera was saying her prayer, she has her little English prayer she says, and it goes on the lines of bless Mama and Auntie Vicky and Cashton and all whom I love. And then last time she was praying, she even added other names, like she added Oma and Opa, and Cashton did that too, where he added more names. And you just notice these kids, they're starting to realize this is not it's just lines you say, but it's actually you can add more people to the prayer. It was very special.
It's a prayer that they're speaking to God, and that's awesome that they can realize that and say whatever they want. Yeah.
And then maybe going back to the struggles, I don't know, there's lots of struggles, I guess, being up with the kids. I mean, it's probably every family has their struggles at night with kids and stuff like that, but I guess with our kids, or with especially Cashton, when we got him, he was all right, but after he had a visit with his siblings, starting then he actually started screaming at night, like terrified scream at night, to the point where I didn't know what to do anymore, so we were just up with him basically, or like he would have to stay in my bed, whatever, right? So we, it was November when he had that visit, and then I remember one night when we were actually here in Winkler visiting my family, and it was at a New Year's service, or like the evening before New Year's on the 31st, and I was home with the kids, and he was screaming basically nonstop. So I went home at 10 from church, or shortly before, and until my parents came home after 12, he was screaming. I was running around with him, and he was just not calming down. So I was mentally drained already, kind of, and it was very, very challenging for me. And I think at that point, even my mom had him, and Vicky had him, and we didn't know what to do. So when we came home, we talked to our pastor in Thompson, and we thought maybe that something in his past, or something happened in his past, and maybe that visit sparked it.
What visit?
With his sisters.
Okay.
So yeah, and then we decided we would have a day where we would pray a blessing over them, or he would do that, actually, the pastor, and just for the time being, we would just pray as a group. There was a couple of people, and we would pray for him to
specifically for him,
just for him to sleep better, and to get all of that memory maybe I don't know, erased or lost for
Whatever's bothering him or something, just pray for
right.
that. Yeah.
And miraculously that night he slept like through the night. He'd never slept through the night before, and he was quiet and calm, and was since then it's been really good actually.
Wow, praise the Lord. That's such an answered prayer, right?
There's probably, like you mentioned, some challenging just with fostering and like also rewarding moments, but like with the fostering system itself, is there specifics that you have to do? Like I know previously you mentioned like you have to get permission when leaving Thompson, or how exactly does that work?
Right. So with the kids, anytime I want to leave Thompson, so anytime I want to go 1.5 hours out of Thompson, I have to get a travel authorization. So like a week or two before, depending on where I go. So if I go like just to Winkler, it's enough if I tell them like a week before. But if I want to go somewhere else, like if I would want to go to like, I don't know, BC or whatever, right, I would have to give them 2 months in advance, like a heads up, and they would have to talk to their boss, like the social worker, and they would have to get it approved by the chief of their community if they want to go out of the country. So you need to give them heads up, basically, and yeah, anytime you travel out of Thompson, you basically have to get an authorization. And I think another challenge that I guess affects me a little bit more so is I can't make any decisions for them because NCN is still in charge of the kids, right?
Like
they make
bigger decisions, you mean?
like medical decisions, for example,
like
anything medical related or like educational. I can't. I can maybe ask them not to do it, but they will still have the final word, right? So I mean, I do take them to all their appointments, but I have to update them regularly on all the medical stuff, educational, like speech therapy and stuff like that, and then they make the final call. So that's a little bit challenging for me sometimes, because sometimes they do stuff that maybe I personally wouldn't do, but you just kind of have to pray that everything goes well.
Yeah, that's interesting because like you make lots of decisions for them in their daily life, like what they eat, what they wear and stuff like that. So I would say you know them very well. So, you know, you'd like to probably make decisions for them as well, like medical concerns and stuff like that. But that's interesting that you're not able to do that they decide that then.
Yeah.
Too. And does that ever come with like cultural difficulties? Do you ever feel challenges working with a different culture, especially as, you know, having your fostering children be Indigenous? Do you ever face cultural difficulties?
Pretty small still, so I think once they get older, maybe, but right now it was just, you know, that thing where with Cashton where he was screaming, where we thought it might have had something to do with his past, with his culture maybe, but besides that, I haven't really noticed anything.
And is there some rules or like recommendations where they want you to take them to like Indigenous events or things like that?
Oh, right, yeah. So actually, when I went in to see them, they saw that I was wearing a skirt and I was Christian, right? And they asked me, would you take them to, or would you be against them going to anything like that? And I kind of just told them, like, if they grow up and they decide by themselves that they want to go, I will not, like, I can't stand in their way, right? So they do want us to take them to like cultural events, which not everything is bad, right? Sometimes there's just like rock painting or stuff like that, which isn't bad, but like, yeah, I really wouldn't want to take them to like, you know, like the powwows or like ceremonial things.
And I guess they also want us to teach the kids Cree, which is kind of funny because we don't know Cree. And it seems like even the kids themselves, like their kids that live at home with their parents, they don't know Cree either, but I guess that's one of the things they want us to teach them.
What language do you actually speak with the kids at home?
We do German. But
Really?
I mean, they pick up English at church.
Yeah.
But and I would say they understand the majority of it, English, but fluent in German.
Oh, that's awesome. They'll be bilingual then.
Yeah.
So these kids, like, do you have them permanently, or is this like temporarily, or do you know how long you have these kids for?
Okay, so the kids, they either have a temporary status or a permanent status. My kids both have temporary status at this time. With Cashton, I can see him going back sometime. He has his family and they want family to be together, which makes sense, right? And the goal is for the kids to be back with their mom and to be raised in their familiar surroundings, I guess. But right now, I think he's just going to stay with us for a while. With Vera, there's never really been any family involvement. I think there was once very shortly, but I don't see her going back anytime soon, no.
Do you know the reasons? You said Cashton has family and you don't have to share the reasons, but do you know the reasons why he needs to be fostered or why he can't be with the family?
Yeah, like after the screaming happened with him, I actually went into the agency and I read his history, and it didn't really make sense. But I read what happened to him and why he was taken away. Yeah.
Okay. So you do know the history and of the family and why he needs to be fostered, why he can't be with the family.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I do. With Vera, I didn't, but read the history because I didn't feel the need to up to this point. But with Cashton, I did. Yes.
So coming to a conclusion and slowly wrapping this up, we have one more question of, when people might be thinking about fostering or praying about it, what are some of the most rewarding and challenging things that come with fostering, or what is some advice that you would give to people that are thinking about fostering or praying about it?
Okay, so for myself, the most rewarding is to see the kids' eyes sparkle and to see their happiness, and like to see them bonding with each other, but also with other people.
And I was going to say it is, you get really attached to these kids. And when Cashton was with us in the beginning, we had him for maybe 2 months. And like Edith said before, there is a chance of him going back to his mom, and it's a rather higher chance, right? So there was the 1 week I was sitting at school, I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday, and I had my phone like right beside me facing up. And when the messages come, the phone turns on, right? And I got a message from Edith, so I read it, and it just said NCN called.
And that's the fostering agency.
That's the fostering agency. And for some reason, when that message, when it popped up, my heartbeat started beating so fast. I got the shakes, and I went downstairs into like a private area, and Edith, I don't know if she texted or called me, and she just said, yeah, that Cashton is going to go live with the other foster family where his siblings are. And I was in the bathroom for probably like an hour. I just couldn't calm myself down because you were so attached to these kids, and they're not your own, like by blood or anything, but you just get so attached to these kids. And honestly, for me, this was a very eye-opening experience, and I think I cherish it because obviously you love these kids and you're supposed to show them your whole love. But I think it was important maybe this was God's way of showing us that this can happen. Like not to say not to get attached to these kids because that's normal. These are they're kids and you build a relationship, but just to keep that in the back of your mind because it will be hard if he ever leaves, but you just need to have that as a thought in the back of your head.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never really realized that, for mothers, when they have, their children, they can't get the kid and give it back. So for fostering, that's probably a challenge as well. You can have that in the back of your mind to give those kids back, if things get hard, or when you were saying when Cashton was screaming, you might have even had those thoughts in the back of your head to, give that kid back. But just to also, pray about it, and you need God's help to work through those situations because that's always an opportunity. That's always something that is in the back of your head that you can give these kids back. So,
and I'm just gonna add on to that. There's lots of support. It's not just that it's just us with these kids, and that we have to deal with everything. We definitely notice the men in the church stepping up and helping out. Even the ladies. When we have ladies' nights, for example, we go without kids. That other men volunteer to take our kids, or we ask, and they babysit. So there's definitely a lot of support coming in.
So you have a ladies' night, is it once per week?
Yeah, every 2 weeks. Every two weeks, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So that's when you meet with all the ladies in your church and your fellowship together?
Yeah.
And then often the husbands will stay home with the kids. So then you guys give your kids to one of the other dads. Yeah. So they well, that's amazing. That's nice to feel so supported from the church and that they support you with that as well. And then also I asked about some advice you would give to people, praying about fostering or thinking about it. What is some advice that you would give?
For myself, I would say it is definitely worth it. One thing I would advise anybody to do is pray about it. Really be sure that you want to do it, because you don't really want to take a kid and then give it back after, a couple of weeks or whatever, right? Because it kind of harms the kids too. But it's definitely worth it. You will see the sparkle in the kid's eye from basically day one almost. And there's lots of kids who need that love and who maybe even crave that love. And great blessing to have these kids in our home.
Just to really pray about it and be 100% sure, because you, like I said, you have that in the back of your mind to be able to give those kids back. But if you have that assurance from God to know 100% that these kids, that this is your ministry, God will help you through all those challenges,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's a good advice to pray fervently about that and be sure about that decision.
Yeah, and it might also be like sometimes God might just send you into this like just temporarily, right? That you have these kids for a short period of time. Maybe it might not be long term, but it's always based on circumstances in life as well, right? And how God intends to use you in this ministry as well. Yeah, and this kind of pretty much wraps up our interview here. And in Mark 9:37, it also says, "Whoever receives one of these little children in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but him who sent me." It says, God, like Jesus talks here about how when we take in those little ones, like he blesses us, and it's a big ministry that you guys are doing. And may the Lord bless you in this. And thank you for coming here today and taking your time for this interview. And also thank you to all the listeners who took their time to listen to this interview. And let's keep Edith and Vici in our prayers, and may God bless you in this ministry.